Hello, everyone. I have today for this episode of Between Two Bots, Vino Livan Nadar. I'm your host, Ahmed Zaidi, the Chief Automation Officer and also the CEO of Accelirate. Um, we talk about interesting stuff here. So today I want to talk to, by the way, Vino goes by Livan. So I call him Vino, but he goes by Livan. I'm going to talk to Livan about from RPA automation to agents, the engineering of the agentic era, how the skills evolve. It's going to be an interesting conversation. We'll just chat and see how things go.
Yeah,
Uh, Liman, you want to tell everyone about a little bit about yourself?
yeah, sure. It's been a while working with Accelerate, but it's always fun on solving like complex problem. So currently, I'm like a technical lead. I'm also like a UiPath MVP, and also like a chapter leader.
Oh my God,
Uh,
too many things on your plate, Livan. Yeah, Livan's been working for us for a while. He's a very valued member of our team. We're extremely excited to have him on the team. That's awesome. So let's talk about this a little bit. Everybody's talking about agents. I think agents are going to rule the world and drive my cars and wash my dishes. And I saw a video on Wall Street Journal the other day about a robot trying to do household chores. Agents are going to solve all the problems, right?
yeah,
So, how is, let's just talk a little bit about how do you see the evolution of automation?
yeah. I mean, automation was always about solving a like a business problem. It can be like small to complex, right? But traditionally, when we look at the automation, right, it was more linear. You are also always moving the data from point A to point B, applying some business logic to it, then again, updating some other records, right? But when we see the pattern now, right, we are actually building more than like a workflow system, right? We are going into an era where you're actually building a system that can make a decision on its own, right? I mean, when we look at this technology like few years back, right, uh, we got like bit of reasoning into it, right?
Okay.
For example, like document understanding and
Yeah.
NLP, and that NLP was there for a while.
Yep.
But right now, if you want to solve like NLP problems, it becomes a lot much easier, right?
Absolutely. LLMs have made things much easier. You
Yeah,
can you can actually talk to them,
yeah.
and they can reason a little bit. So that's good. What happens if that reasoning is wrong?
Also, we don't get in trouble. But yeah, I mean that's where the engineering is very important, right? You actually build a system, that is actually uh, having a controlled agency, right? That even if it goes out of the context, it actually can escalate to a human, right? That's where many things come into play. I mean, basically, you're also building a system that can have this context layer, right? Where it can reason upon things, where you have the data where it can act upon, right? And if anything goes above and beyond it, then always there is a human who
Got it.
can actually correct it.
You've been working in the mortgage industry a while. Any examples of things that you can do now that you couldn't do 18 months, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, one of these example that we discussed earlier was this complaints management use case, right? Previously when we actually approached it, you took the documents, we were able to extract the information out of it, and more than that, we were able to even route it to a different department
Okay.
based on
So
you know
basically, a complaint comes in, you have to read the complaint, figure out what it is, then
yeah.
gather some relevant information possibly, and then send it to a department to resolve
Yeah, right. And if you look at this problem now, let's say a borrower will write on a complaint that, hey, I made a payment last week, but my escrow is
by
actually
balance
getting
is still
short,
low.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now we can actually more than just routing, right? I mean, I can build an agent that can read what is required, and if it has the right tool, it can go into the system of record, maybe like MSP. It can
Yep.
check, okay, what is the last payment, and if it is something like a batch delay, it can escalate a ticket, maybe like a service now ticket to the engineer, and also it can send an email back to the borrower, right? And we can see how much positive impact this can even make, right? Because obviously, if you write a complaint, you'll be actually pissed off that you'll be like you're actually
Yes.
getting instead of like waiting for 3 and 5 days, you are getting an
That's great. That's
very
great.
instantly. Yeah.
Look, I think so. That's interesting. You're Here's how I look at it, and this is the interesting part for me, right?
Mhm.
We, us old people, you're young, I'm old. Uh,
You're still young.
yes. Uh, Thank you for that validation. But you know, we've grown up in an era of very rules-based programming. It was always one plus one equals two. If it is three, then the human made the mistake,
Right.
right? That was it. There was a computers always give you a definitive answer.
Mhm.
Then we got into a little bit of machine learning where the answers were probability of something.
Mhm.
There's an X probability that this thing is this.
Mhm.
There's an X probability of this event happening. There's an X probability of this number being this or this thing being equal to or close to this. So you went into a little bit of a probabilistic model of trying to figure out in programming. And now it's not just about probabilistic outcomes on very certain things, it's probabilistic outcome on a lot of different things, right?
Mhm.
So you're going from like the LLM hallucinating, maybe
Mhm.
making the wrong decisions, maybe uh, making the wrong plan, and then being able to execute some of those things. You have to think through
Mhm.
what tools does it have, what can it do, what shouldn't it do, how do I prevent it from not doing what it shouldn't do,
Mhm.
because LLMs can think again
Yeah.
and try to do things. We've seen examples of LLMs trying to, be wrong, and then they say, "No, you're wrong." They says, "Yes, okay, you're right. I am wrong."
Yeah.
So then if you know you're wrong, then why didn't you say that you the right thing in the first place,
Yeah.
right? Your role as an automation engineer is changing.
Mhm.
Just general roles in automation are changing. Then you have to, before you had to go to the business and say, "Hey, you're going to give me the rules. I'm going to do this, and this thing is going to do exactly what your rules say."
Yeah.
Now you have to go back to the business and say, "You give me the rules. It's going to try to do what it thinks it is right. It may or may not be right. It may try to do something. It may not try to do this. It will, and then I might give you something back. You might
Mhm.
have to prove it. Then it'll come back. It's a very different paradigm of designing systems, designing
Mhm.
automations in general, right? So let's
Yeah.
talk about the automation piece. How's your role changing in all of this? You graduated from just an automation developer to being an architect and understanding how to architect automation systems. How is your role changing?
Yeah. I mean, when you said the first point, right, on being like in a very rule-based environment, right? I mean, that's how this automation, where traditionally where we were developing, right? We were actually having this task execution mindset, right? And coming now, we actually have to adapt to a goal-oriented mindset, and that is,
Oh, that's
really
interesting.
that is really challenging, right?
Yes.
For me, it took a while. I mean, how do you, like make a system that can, automatically do all the other workflows, right? I think that's the most important and challenging part of it.
Okay.
That the very first is you adapt to a mindset. You have to change your mindset. You have to go like a goal-oriented mindset as opposed to
Makes sense.
like a rule-based or a task execution mindset,
Makes sense.
right? And I mean, when it comes to the actual, technical or practical piece of it, like I can put it in like the, five different layers,
Okay.
right? Number one is you need to actually have a reasoning framework in place,
Okay.
right? So basically, you will go about building a prompt framework, putting in the best practices when you do the prompt engineering, right? Because an agent is as good as the instructions you provide. I mean,
Okay. So
uh,
that's a new skill right there. Just the
yeah,
ability to give those instructions
yeah, right. I mean, you are into,
clearly.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if you actually give a generic instruction, right, maybe like it will go about its understanding, it can do Y things, right? And
Yes.
you are mentioning that the robot will, I mean, the agent will go just haywire and do anything on its own, right? So
Got
it's
it.
very
Okay.
important to think very logically and, just to give very clear instruction.
Makes sense.
And second thing is, agent needs to, I mean, this agent is as good in the environment it can work on, right?
Yep.
For example, if you build like the complaints use case, right,
Hmm.
like in one client, it will be different on other client
Yes.
because the way they work, the culture they adapt to, right?
Makes
So it's,
sense.
it's very important that define your context, and here the data is very much important, as you know about it, right?
Yes.
So that's again a different skill set, right?
Yep.
Many may not. think about it or just overthink it, right? I mean, they'll just give the outdated, policies document to it, and
Yep.
they'll expect, okay, why my agent is not adapting my to the latest requirement. So right there, context is very much important. And third,
When you say context, what is context in the agentic world?
one of the characteristics of an agent, right? It is actually perception, right? I mean, seeing the environment where it is needs to act upon, and based on the environment, it needs to take the decision, right?
Okay.
So in agent, for example, you consider the complaints use case, right?
Mhm.
Basically, I want to give, what is my organization policies, right? In reference to how we actually reply to a customer, right?
Got it.
And how we
Also,
deal about,
also, who are you? Where are you working?
yeah,
What industry you're in? What department you're in? What is your job?
right,
That's all context for the
agent,
for
yeah,
the agent.
yeah. And even with the mortgage domain, right? We have different policies for different state, right?
Yep.
So some policies will be not applicable for other states.
So you have to define all of that.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
right.
great.
Then the important thing comes is the tools, right?
Okay.
And I mean,
For our audience, explain what tools means in the agentic context.
yeah. So I mean, with the agent, we'll be not giving access to the direct application, right? We'll be giving access to the tools, right?
Okay.
Tools are basically the functions which the agent can directly operate on, right?
Okay.
For example, as a very simpler term, I can have some tools such as reading an email, writing an email, right? And what goes into the body, that is something that comes out of the agent,
Got it.
right?
So there's the LLM, which is the brains of the agent.
Yeah,
These are the arms and the legs of the agent
right.
that you say, okay, it can tell us, the LLM may say, you should write an email
Hmm.
to the customer with this
Exactly.
response.
Yeah,
But if you give it a tool that is able to send an email, it can actually send an email or compose an email,
right.
draft, and save it in a. So you would give it a tool that can draft an email and save it in your email inbox for
Exactly.
you to send it out,
Yeah.
or to be able to access a system. The LLM, if you don't give it a tool, it might say, go to your MSP loan servicing system
Hmm.
and look at the payments and then
Yeah.
look at and grab that data and do this. But if you give it the tool that says, here's a tool to go look up payments for a customer
Hmm.
in the servicing platform,
Hmm.
it can go and take that tool, grab that data back, and then act upon it and reason with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it actually brings out to the first important point, right, on the guardrails, right? For example, if you don't have a tools, you're actually giving access to the end application directly, right? Then maybe like it can actually bring up some security concern, right? Because
Yep.
what if I actually inject the agent, right, and tell that, hey, just drop this table,
Yes.
right? So instead of,
Obviously, and that happened, right? That has happened in the past where
yeah,
an agent went haywire and deleted code base
yeah,
and
yeah,
deleted tables, and that happens.
yeah. So
So guardrails are important.
yeah, yeah. So
So designing tools with those guardrails in mind is important. So for example, if I
mhm,
give a tool, it only has read access to certain data
right,
and does not have change access to certain data.
exactly.
The change access happens after the change tool is not given as a tool to the agent. It is
Hmm.
put in some orchestration layer,
Hmm.
and it only gets kicked off after a person says yes. And that's not part of the reasoning chain within the LLM, so they can't even access that tool, that that part of the application.
Yeah, and that you actually brought up a very good design consideration, especially where you're working on a very risk oriented environment, right? Basically, you want you know an human to just read through the things and act upon it, right?
Yes.
I mean, the agent in that case will be more like a recommendation layer. It will basically have all the context and answer to it,
Okay.
and then it goes to a human, and human will say, okay, I approve it, and then it takes up on the action, maybe like doing the action as you mentioned, right? Then finally, as you like this is more like the fundamental layer, right? You need to have a very good orchestration,
Okay.
right? orchestration is piece that actually outshines the all other agentic component in the market.
Yes.
Yeah, and it actually makes something like a truly enterprise ready, right? And one of the article that I wrote in LinkedIn is why agentic orchestration makes more sense if it is like in BPMN, right? And if you look at tool like a Maestro, right?
Hmm.
The
The
UiPath,
UiPath Maestro. Okay.
UiPath Maestro, right? So it is nothing but a BPMN, right?
Yep.
And it makes more sense BPMN because with that you can actually tie up all things together and you can
You
do
could
like
do
an
swim lanes. You
end
could
to
do
end.
all
Yeah.
sorts of end to end. That's very interesting. I think everybody talks about orchestration in little different ways.
Hmm.
I think there aren't too many orchestration platforms out there
Hmm.
that do true agentic orchestration. BPM platforms have been out there for quite a while.
Hmm.
They have done work orchestration for structured data. I'm sure they'll get into agentic orchestration as well.
Hmm.
But agentic orchestration to us really, how I look at it is you have this little agent thing that is using LLMs, but then you also want to take the output of that and be able to do something else with it that is not LLM based, that's very rules based,
Hmm.
that's very specific,
Hmm.
has permissions, has guardrails,
Hmm.
has the security and the access figured out, and use that, and then give it to a human to validate something before using it, then go back to an LLM and say, okay, now this is the output of out of my system of record, analyze it again, tell me if everything was okay, and then move forward from there. That to us is orchestration, which is very important.
Yeah, and orchestration doesn't needs to be like a a complete cross-functional or cross-departmental like level, right? You
Yes,
can have orchestration within a department, within a specific
absolutely,
like a
absolutely.
business problem, right?
That makes sense. Uh, how do you see products evolving in this space? What's going on?
I
Everybody
mean,
has agents, man. Everybody has agents. What's happening?
oh my God, I mean, if you actually look into LinkedIn, right, it's like every other week you see
I feel
some.
like I haven't been active on LinkedIn for a little bit, but I feel like I should just put word agentic, and it just gets, as soon as I put the word agents agentic, it just gets right up there, gets a lot of views.
Yeah, it's like every other platform, even like a product platform has like a agentic slice to it, right?
Yes.
But honestly speaking, there are some platform, for example, Paycor, right? I mean, I was actually doing this benefit enrollment, right?
Hmm.
And it actually has some of the questions to me. And you know that I got recently married, right?
Yes.
So it actually gave me a plan, which is like, okay, this is the best because you have a spouse, and this is what it is, and if you actually plan for future things, then this is the best plan, right?
Yes.
So obviously, there are areas where it is actually giving a lot much value,
Hmm.
right? But again, on the flip side, if you see that, it's like every other recipe is having like the tomato, like just to have the flavor and the depth of
Yes.
it, right?
That's
But
interesting. Look, I think there's the where the platforms, just my opinion, where they're going. Every system of record eventually will have an agentic flavor to it, right?
mhm,
So, for example, you mentioned Paycor. Paycor is the HR system that we use and
mhm,
many others use. It will have an agentic flavor to it, right?
mhm,
Hey, you go in and you type or talk to it and in plain English and do things that you
right.
right now have to go and click all these
Mhm,
fields. Um, but then there's stuff that has to happen between Paycor and our finance system and our resource tracking system, all
mhm,
of that, right? So that is where I really think you can use more agents and cross application integration, number one,
right.
and then orchestration of the work across these systems. That's where very important, I think.
Mhm,
All right, one of the things I want to ask you,
mhm.
what patterns are solvable now that weren't previously? What can we do now that we couldn't do before?
There is like tons of possibilities that we can do now, right?
Yes.
You can
Tell.
tap do to anything, but on a very high level, we can actually put that into two different areas, right? One is like a smart assistant, which we call it, right? I mean, years before, no, chatbot was not interesting, right?
Chatbots suck, man. Chatbots still suck. They're
Uh,
getting a little better, but other than ChatGPT, all chatbots suck.
yeah, I mean, if you actually want to, find like a solution to a problem, right? This automated system never works. So definitely, you'll be doing some level so that you can, reach out directly to a human, right,
Yep.
with a chatbot, right? But obviously now, as you said, with chatbot, like maybe like ChatGPT and many other this thing, it is able to give answers or solution far better than any human could do, right? And that is an example that we use daily in our life, right?
Yes.
When ChatGPT has become like the next the next the to do thing, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a constant presence in everybody's life these days.
Yeah,
Either your company gives you one, or you have a personal subscription that you use
yeah,
for yourself. So okay, so smart assistants is a thing,
yeah.
and then
And then mostly as we actually do the automation, right, mostly in the unattended world, right? So that goes into more like building a true agent, right? So building a true goal oriented agent. So previously, if you want to do more like a research or figuring out some stuff by an agent, it was like not doable, right? But right now, with the evaluation of all these agents, we can actually have this agent to like information is not here, look at the email body, if it is not in the email body, look at the ERP, right?
okay,
So
so goal-oriented
yeah,
sort of systems that we could do.
yeah.
Okay, what else?
I mean, at the end, it is more about connecting the data across multiple system, right?
That's big, man. That is
Yeah,
big.
with like this agent, it has become a lot more
Yeah,
simpler,
I
right?
mean, I think the big thing that has happened is all that unstructured data, and we call it unstructured data, but some of it is data in the real sense of the data that we do. So for a
Hmm.
10K report that somebody files with the SEC, or an invoice that comes in, so that's data.
Hmm.
And then there's this other stuff that was inside of contracts. What are the payment terms? What are the termination terms? So that's that type of data. And then there are rules
Hmm.
for doing a certain thing that is also stuck in this unstructured form.
Yeah.
What are the allowed charges under this policy? What are
Hmm.
the rules for processing a certain type of transaction in this state
Yeah.
for this type of loan or this type of customer or this type of property, so
Hmm.
on and so forth, right? So those are all the things that were sort of really not easily accessible
Hmm.
other than by humans. So
Exactly.
humans had to read it
Yeah.
and then convert it into some structured data in their head and say, okay, if this is this and is greater than that, then do this,
Yeah.
and then codify it into rules. And sometimes it was just very subjective and couldn't be done. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. And the other thing is, obviously when you build all this automation, right? The very first thing that I mentioned about adaptability, right? So previously, like obviously, if you want to do UI automation, you really had to have a support team to maintain it. Whenever
Yes.
UI changes, you really have to go
Yes.
back and update, and that is,
That's
not
changing.
yeah,
That is
it's
changing. That is
changing. Yeah,
absolutely changing. All right. You're a UiPath guy.
yeah,
What's going on with the UiPath world? Talk to me about it.
yeah. I mean, when you actually say about the cross-platform, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it is more about always the business problem is more about moving the data from different systems, right? And
Yes.
that is where
I
like
mean, at the end of the day, RPA solved the cross-application integration problem, right?
yeah,
You didn't have integration between various systems, and
yeah,
it solved that problem by going to the UI.
yeah, exactly. So that's the same case with the agentic as well, right?
Okay.
When you actually have to build a complete reasoning system that can take the data from multiple sources, that is very much key, right? You take
Yep.
the data from multiple sources, because if you want to do certain research as well, you have to collect data maybe like from going to from ServiceNow, to your other system of records and all your policies. Then you compare against it, okay, if the change is truly valid or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, even with UiPath, right, one of the benefit as MVP we get is early access to the product, right? So all to the latest platform, right? Especially onto the agentic world, right? We can see lot many, no, not much coming in. Maybe like recently we called like a coded agent, right?
Yes.
So open source has been a kind of a boom in the agentic, right? There are a lot of this open source LangChain, LangGraph, and everything has its own advantages and disadvantages. But let's say if something that I need to build more than just a normal agent builder, I can go with coded agent,
Coded agents. Okay.
right?
I
And
hear RAG is coming as well, like granular RAG.
yeah, yeah, there are
That is
a lot of this interesting stuff coming in. And even like with your traditional automation, right? There is this healing agent, there is
healing
like
agent,
UI
screenplay,
agent, screenplay,
the UI
the
agent.
UI
That's
agent,
awesome.
right? A lot of stuff coming in.
Conversational agents.
Yeah, exactly. conversation again, a piece of puzzle to it, right?
All right.
Yeah.
So, just in summary, mind shift change as an architect.
Hmm.
Then you have different roles. I would assume you have a prompt engineer role.
Yeah.
The analyst has to understand how to create a prompt
Hmm.
for this thing, and then the has to work very closely with the architect
Yeah.
to figure out what are the different pieces, where is going to be the delineation of work
Hmm.
between. You might think, hey, I got instructions on how to do this thing. This is one big agent. That's
Hmm.
usually not the case.
Yeah.
So you need the architect and the analyst to work together to figure out what are the different agents,
Hmm.
what are their functions, and then the analyst can tell you that this piece is done this way,
Yeah.
this piece is done this way. I think the analyst itself changes a little bit to actually, I think we start to design the business process as is
Hmm.
really easily first in something like a Maestro where you can actually see it
Hmm.
and optimize it right there,
Hmm.
and then iterate over it to get to a final stage. But I think what you the big thing that I took away was mind shift change,
Hmm.
right? And then understanding the different components of an agentic implementation, which is context awareness,
Hmm.
reasoning,
Yeah.
tools, orchestrations, and guardrails. Right?
Hmm.
These are the five things that we talked about. That these are the engineering pillars, if you may, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For agentic implementations.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Thank you very much, man. It's always great to talk to you.
Mhm.
I do that every day. He sits in the room behind this wall. But thank you very much. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. Great to
Yeah.
have you.
No, it was pleasure to talking to you, especially the best mind. I mean, you call it as the most automated mind in the world, right?
He has seen me
It's a
do these
privilege.
things. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.